Hey everybody, this is Dave Clark, aka the Pattern Guy. Hey, welcome to the last segment of our video, or well, we're gonna cast this too, but welcome to the last segment of building the pattern. Okay, normally you see me sitting down right here. Normally pattern makers don't sit, and that's a huge thing. I gotta do some close-up work here real quick. I want to show you something real quick here. Then we'll get back to standing. Okay, so I'm a little worried about this pattern or casting for having enough metal, be able to melt enough metal down at the foundry to pour this casting. So what I did was, I should have probably shown you this. I didn't have the camera at the time. I was just putzing around. So what I did was I rounded this over, kind of make it look a little more retro. Okay, did both sides. What I'm doing here now is we're gonna make it even more retro, a little bit more decorative. I'm gonna put like a little bead in here, okay, on this edge here. We'll try to get it here. Several ways you can do this. You can get a router and, you know, put a little core box bit in there. Do it that way, but you don't have any square edges to run off of. Okay, so this is where I want to teach you guys how to use hand tools. All right, and the way I'm going to do it's not going to come out perfect, okay, but that's the way. If you look at old castings from, you know, early 1900s, 1920, 1930, I mean, you can see imperfections in the castings as far as like workmanship goes, you know, and then that's part of it. You know, they obviously didn't have CNC machines back in the day, right? So what we do is I'm going to get a gouge, and this is where I'm saying too, you need some, you know, pretty sharp gouge to do this. All right, so I sharpened this up this morning. I started running this bead in here, and then too, you're not going to get it perfect with your gouge. When you sand it with a piece of sandpaper, you're going to get a little bit better too. Okay, so this particular piece right here, as I was telling you the other day, you can see the grain, where the grain's going. Okay, so what I want to do when I start chiseling or gouging this corner out, you can see the grain where it's going. Okay, so I want to use my gouge and run with the grain. Okay, so you can see right here, see if I got something to point at. If you can see right here, you got your grain going. So if I try to get this chisel here, the gouge here, it's going to get under that grain, and it's just going to try to peel it away. Okay, so if I'm coming up this way, it's slicing out. Okay, it's hard. It's, you know, it's one of those things that a lot of this stuff you got to be there. It's kind of hard to get it over video, you know. But basically what I want to do too is, here's my edge, so I want to, you know, put a little round in here. So what I'm going to do with this gouge, you know, I'm going to take a little bit at a time. You can't take it all at one time, right? So I want to end up with, you know, this edge right here, and this edge, you know, be my final outside dimension. Okay, and like I said, it's no big deal. This is ornamental, all right, for my buddy. One of the things with this too, okay, see how I rounded these corners? I really wish I would have waited and showed you guys on a sander how to do this. I did this on a sander. These, I guarantee, are not the same. Okay, so like I said, it's for a buddy. We're gonna make 2 castings off of this. This is for a machine for him, so it's no big deal. If I were making this, say if it was a part for the Navy, one of my customers does do a lot of stuff for the Navy and that, what I would have done was I would have made one piece, made a frame around it, poured a plastic, and then, you know, we would have got it that way, because it's actually, no, I wouldn't have done that because it's a mirror image. All right, so it's you know, it is hard to get everything the same. So, but I mean, it come out pretty close. So like I said, this one's just, you know, it's for a buddy, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so get back to putting this little bead in here. Okay, so I'm sitting down. I got this clamped to my table. All right, and you just start, like I said, you take a little bit at a time. You don't want to, you don't want to go too far. We're not racing here, and especially when you're just first starting out. Okay, now see how that's peeling away? So if I were to go on this way, you can, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a piece of grain going this way. That whole chunk would just peel right off. Okay, so you obviously don't want that. Okay, so just take your time and you work your way around this radius here. Okay, and then like I said, you're not going to get it perfect with the gouge. You can get it pretty close. Then we're going to take a piece of sandpaper. Okay, I was just thinking of something here. I just moved a little bit. All right, now here it's getting a little more difficult because I'm getting more towards the end grain. Okay, it's getting a little more difficult to work my gouge here. Okay, so I'm going to be taking a little bit less of a bite at a time. Okay, and this gouge, I didn't really sharpen it that well too. Real quick, safety thing, when you're doing what I'm doing right now, okay, I think it's obvious, all right, but I'm not going to place my hand here and gouge into my hand, all right, keep your hands back here, okay, and then, like I said, you'll get to the point over the years, is, like I said, I've been doing this for such a long time, it's just so easy for me to, you know, just do this by hand, and I could probably get a pretty good, yeah, see I'm going a little deeper than I wanted to here, but I could probably get a pretty consistent groove in here, okay, you know, like I said, it takes time to do this, okay? You're gonna don't get discouraged. I mean, I guarantee if you've never done this before, you're not gonna do this, okay? It's gonna take you a long time to learn how to do this. Like I said, you know, if you're a sports guy, you know, batting, guys with good batting average, they're in the batting cage every day to get that swing down, you know, so you know, you get to use these tools every day, okay? And literally, I don't do this every day. I'm lucky to do this maybe once every 3 months, something like this, all right? But, you know, you get used to using your tools is what it is, and handling your tools. One of the things my dad says, which I totally agree with him too, you know, when I became a foreman at Precision Mold and Pattern, we were so busy, or we had to hire some guys, so I was involved in the hiring process, and one of the things you can tell is, you know, for a good guy, you can literally tell a good guy when he comes in just by the way he, like, you know, picks up his tools and you know, manipulates his tools and that. I mean, you can really tell a good craftsman the way he handles his tools and that, you know, so I mean, you'll see over time, you know, but most of what we do is you know how to use this, okay, know how to use the machines. That's why I say too, like, you know, learn how to use the gouges. The second place I worked, guy did not want to see these out, okay, he wanted to see with the die grinder, you know, die grinding it around the machine, okay. Well, like I said, this one I couldn't do with the router, okay? So it's, you know, learn how to use these. Hey, if you learn how to use it, you never use it, you know, whatever, you know, no big deal, no big loss, but you know how to use it, okay? So just, like I said, if you pick up some chisels and gouges along the way, pick them up and you know, start learning how to use them. Like I said, there's a lot of good guys that are out there. They could probably teach you how to sharpen better, because that's all they do. You know, they just, you know, concentrate. That's their little niche. You know, just think of us as like doctors. You got regular doctors, you got brain surgeons, heart surgeons. Okay, so some of those guys get in. You know, guys get into hand planes. Guys that get into chisels, gouges. You know, sharpening. You know, things like that. I pretty good at almost everything I do in this aspect, but like I said, sharpening, you know, I don't carve all the time, so I'm not sharpening as much as those guys are. If you're carving or doing custom woodworking, you're using chisels, gouges all the time, your hand planes all the time, you know, you're sharpening them way more, okay? Like I said, I just sharpened this. The last time I sharpened this probably a year ago. All right, so I'm gonna finish this one up. Like I said, we'll sand it. I'm gonna glue this together, and then I'm gonna get on to showing you how to, you know, round the corners over and put some fillets, okay? So I'll see you guys in a little bit, all right? Okay, guys, we're back again. All right, here's a pattern, okay? This is basically what we had laid out for the most part. Okay, there's that side. Then you flip it up. You know, we didn't do the step thing, we just did this nice curve, okay? So there you go right there. Okay, that's your pattern. Okay, your end view up here. Okay, so I'll put that aside. All right, right here is where I said where we luck out as pattern makers. I keep on telling you guys, keep care of these things. These are what's going to make your living, okay? Over the years, one of the biggest things with pattern makers, we do a lot of stuff by feel, believe me, okay? So, you know, you can feel, you know, I did this by hand, right? Okay, so you can actually feel flat spots, or, you know, if there's a bump or whatever, you take the bump out, okay? So I noticed the flat spot in here, so I filled it in with a little Bondo. And you know, like I said, it's going to take you a long time to learn how to do all this stuff and get used to doing everything, okay? All right, so that's where we look out over furniture makers. That's one great Welsh pattern maker I started learning from my friend of my dad's, Owen Price. You know, he said, you know, Bondo's a pattern maker's buddy. You know, that's our big buddy here. So, you know, I just go to the local auto body supply place, okay? I get this, I like this, I've used lots during the years. I like this Chromate. Like I said, these guys don't pay me. This is just what I find for doing fillets and that. It's not a big deal, but for if you gotta do, like, you know, a little build up on something or what, this stuff is really, it's real nice and smooth. It sticks real well. I haven't had any customers say, hey, look, dude, I, you know, was ramming a pattern up that you had and a bunch of stuff fell off it, you know, so it seems like it's sticking pretty good, okay? So what you do is you get the hardener. You gotta knead this stuff up, okay? So what I'm gonna show you how to do is fillets first, okay? So we got a 90-degree corner in here, okay? You can't have that, okay? That's gotta be, we gotta have it round in there, all right? It's for molding purposes, or for one thing. We'll do a chalk talk on, you know, if you have a straight 90-degree corner, when the casting starts shrinking, it actually creates a weak spot and it'll crack in there. So you don't want that either, okay? So what I do is, like I said, I've got a whole bunch of these. Basically all it was a little piece of sheet metal, okay? And then I've got different sizes. Here's another, you know, a couple different sizes. You just put the different radiuses on there and you sand them out, okay? Now this, like I said, in your specifications in the title block for your drawings, 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you what kind of fillets you got to put on, what you got to do to round the corners. And then, like I said, we're doing this for my buddy, so it's not a big deal, okay? We're just going to, you know, this is a 1/2 inch wide, so it'll give me a 1/4 inch fillet in there. What I'll probably do is, the thing too is, if to get the true 1/4 inch, I have to hold this up perpendicular to here, perfect 90. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to probably, I want a little bit bigger than a 1/4 in there, so I'll just hold this on an angle. It'll give me a bigger radius in there, okay? So, I don't know if anybody, you guys ever use this stuff. You know, you got to stir it up a little bit. You know, it's kind of stupid, but a lot of guys, my auto body buddy, he just gets a piece of cardboard out or whatever, starts mixing this stuff. I just grabbed this piece of plywood, literally when did I start this business? 07. I picked this board up, and I've used this board for my Bondo ever since. I probably mix Bondo every day, you know. And once it gets, you know, I get built up all the way around, I just sand it off, you know. Not a big deal. It's kind of something stupid, really. But I guess I'm not, you know, a lot of guys like my buddy Kevin, when he does it, you know, he'll just throw it out. So, you know, he'll throw the cardboard out. So just think of, you know, he's been in business 20-something years, all the Bondo that he's thrown in the garbage, you know. And that, I mean, it's going into a, like I said, I'm not a big tree hugger, but anyhow. So anyhow, what I'm going to do, you knead this up a little bit. And this stuff, depending on the weather, it's winter time here. In the summertime, when there's high humidity, this hardener basically heats this plastic up and makes it set, you know. So when it's summertime out, high humidity, you put less hardener in it. Like I said, right now my shop's pretty neutral to the you know, atmosphere outside and that, but it's warm in here. It'll kick off a little quicker than if it was really cold and that, you know. So you just put you know, this is one of those things you can have to work on over the years. Maybe like a size of a pea. I got like a good tablespoon, maybe, of the plastic, and then I put like a pea-size piece of hardener in there. Then you mix it. Just mix it up. Okay. It's not hard, not rocket science, okay? All right, but like I said, this is, we're gonna do plastic on this for more reasons than one. It's just, I didn't put any clamps on this thing when I glued it up, so it's not as strong. We only gotta make 2 castings. We'll probably end up making more, I kind of think. But I mean, yeah, I should be able to I could probably make about 100 castings off this, okay? So you just grab a little dollop on your spoon or whatever you want to call it, and you just start wiping it in there. Okay, really, really simple. Okay, and like I said, this also, like learning how to do this and getting used to doing these fillets, you know, it takes a long time. I mean, I could do these plastic fillets probably almost as quick, if not quicker, than using wax or leather. Okay, and like I said, the leather is nice, but the leather is it's expensive. And you know, I'm the kind of guy too. Look, I can take some criticism in that, and I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. And you know, not everybody. You know, you have everybody's got certain weaknesses, and you know, I said I've mastered this trade. Part of mastering the trade is you master all aspects of it, okay? One, I can do them, but it's probably one of my least, one of the things I can't really do well is leather fillets. And the reason why, and don't take this wrong either, okay, I'm not bragging or boasting or nothing, but what happened when I first started at Precision Mold and Pattern, okay, like I said, I had been working with my dad and Elwin for about 4 years. You know, they used to do patterns on the side of their real jobs, and I used to help them out in the garage all the time doing patterns. So Elwin used to do this really good. But anyhow, what happened was, you know, I knew a lot when I first started working at Precision. So a lot of times, okay, here real quick, in the corners, yeah, a lot of times you can just, what I would do is just, you know, scoochy these and then leave aside, because you're going to keep on boogering up in that corner, okay? So just get one of the sides. I'm doing this short leg with them right now, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll let this stuff harden. It'll probably be hardened in about another 5 minutes. And then what I do, there's some overlap stuff. What we'll do is take a chisel that off real quick, and then we'll get the rest, okay? So anyhow, what happens with, I knew a little bit when I first started Aero, so literally my 3rd year of my apprenticeship. I was making a pattern this one day. There's 8 of us in the shop, and there's a couple of guys. One guy, I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a real nice guy, but he allegedly was a pattern maker at first, and then he went into teaching, taught shop class, and he did it so he could coach football. So the school found out that he didn't have a teaching degree, so they ended up firing him. He was there for 7 years. He got a job in a pattern shop. Well, he wasn't that great of a pattern maker. And the one day, you know, boss came up, I was building a pattern, and my boss Bob came up. He said, hey, where are you on the pattern? I was just about to the point where I'm just doing fillets and rounds and stuff. And he goes, hey, go get that to Myron and let him do it. I'm like, I'm not, apprentice doesn't give a journeyman, you know, work to do. So Bob went, took it, gave it to Myron, and Myron was across from me. He just giving me the stare down, you know. So Bob gave me a new pattern to start working on. Sure enough, a week later, I'm finishing that up. And came over, so Myron started doing my, shouldn't have mentioned his name, but he was a real nice guy. He just, you know, he just started doing all my apprentice work, you know. So I wasn't that great doing the leather fillets. Then when I quit Precision Mold Pattern, went to another place, they literally had a guy there. That's all the guy did was fillets and round stuff and paint. The pattern makers just built patterns there. Okay, and then when I came to the 3rd place I worked at the one place for like about 1.5 years. Quit there, went to another place. Well, they knew me. They also did patterns for aero aluminum also. So Dick Roth, real nice guy. He hired me, and I was there. You did everything, start to finish. You know, you painted, mounted, gated, everything. You know, I was struggling with some leather fillets. So one day, Dick came up and he's like, "Hey, I thought you've been doing this for 15 years. You know, you having a hard time putting the leather fillets in them." I just never did them. You know, so that's one thing I'll admit. I can do them in that. I mean, it's not a problem, but it's not. I'm not. That's one part of this trade where I'm not like hugely adept to. You know, especially the bigger ones, the smaller ones, 1/8 inch. Those are so super simple. 1/4 inch, not a problem. But you know, 3/8, 1/2 inch in that. Like I said, I can do them, but it's just not. Takes me a little longer than other guys, you know, where usually like building a pattern, I can usually whoop those out pretty quick. So let me get to scraping this out. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe the rest of these fillets, and what we'll pick up next, I want to show you how to do the roundovers, okay? So I'll be back in a little bit, okay guys? Okay guys, I got all the fillets in here, okay? See that? Alright, they got to be sanded yet, but the Bondo's not all the way hard yet, so we're going to round the corners and then we'll let that set a little bit more. I mean, it's good to the touch, but it'll clog the sandpaper up a little more, okay? So what I'm going to show you how to do now is we got to round these corners over, okay? Because you don't want sharp corners 9 times out of 10, okay? There are some times where drawings will call for very not too much, okay? So with this one, this surface is machined, this surface is machined. So we're gonna put like a very slight radius on here, probably like 1/8 of an inch or something, okay? Same thing on this side, it's not machined, but we gotta put some bolts here. So we don't want to put a big radius here and then have the bolt head go over the radius, okay? So we're not going to radius this. I'll probably put 1/8 inch radiuses over everything here. Okay, maybe under here a little bit more. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it. 1/8 of an inch. I don't need. I'm just going to take a piece of sandpaper and round them off. Okay, so here's a couple different ways you can do it. So here's, say this is the corner of a pattern right here. Okay, square. All right, and we got to put this radius on here, okay? So one of the easiest ways to do it is you take your square, this is a 45 on here, okay? So you put a 45-degree mark, okay? Like that, okay? Tangent to the radius, okay? Tangency is the highest part out, okay? So that's your tangent. So you put a 45-degree mark here. So then what you're gonna do from there is you're gonna take your ruler and measure, you know, let's say this line is the edge. Okay, you measure over to that 45-degree mark and you get 15/16, and it'll be the same from here to here also, okay? So what you can do is you can grab your thumb gauge, set it to 15/16 and just mark it all the way around, you know, both sides. Okay, you can either take a chisel that off. Sometimes it might be big enough where you can cut it off. Okay, that's to where your little hand planes come in, just your little block plane. Okay, these are really nice for putting radiuses on. Okay, you know, same thing. This one, actually, this is a little Stanley. This is a record. Yeah, this is a little Stanley. I actually got it. I got this at the depot, I think. Did it for carpentry in it, but I'll use it in here. It's a nice little plane for, you know, doing things. A couple other things I haven't mentioned yet too. Spoke shaves. Okay, this is a set. These are records. These are real nice. My dad got me these, I think, when I was done with my apprenticeship. This was kind of my, you know, journeyman gift from my dad. All right, so one of them's on the soles here. You know, this one's flat. Okay, this one's convex, and no, I'm sorry, concave and convex. Okay, so you can use those. I actually have a small set too. These are real nice. You know, same thing. I got convex, concave, and a little flat one. Okay, so you can actually, you know, use these and get it to your 15/16 marks that you made. Okay, and then what you do to check yourself is we have what's called radius gauges. Okay, here's a set of radius gauges. These only go up to a 1/2 inch. You know, traditional sets go up to 1/2 inch. You can buy bigger sets in that. What I've done through the years, like I said, it's you know, make your own stuff a lot of times. I mean, these things, you know, all you gotta do is I use like 1/16 inch aluminum. I had a sheet of 1/16 inch aluminum. I made a whole bunch of radius gauges, bigger ones. I'll show them to you one of these days. But you know, you take your dividers, you know, mark it out, go sand it out on a sander, you know. So make your own. That'll save you a bunch of money there. But you know, another thing you can do. All right, this is a 1/4 sheet of a piece of sandpaper. Okay, I think it's 9 by 11 is the. So traditionally, a lot of woodworkers, a lot of the palm sanders, you got the round orbital ones now, but the old ones were what's called a 1/4 sheet sander. That's what I mean. I always knew it as a 1/4 sheet sander, not a palm sander. Okay, so you basically split a sheet in quarters in it. You can use that on your palm sander. The other thing we do is just make a sanding block, piece of scrap wood, okay? But, you know, make it the exact width. But then what you do is, you know, you make it so you fold it up, okay? Some guys will put some glue on there. To me, it's kind of ridiculous. But like I said, we always want to get things flat, you know, so you use this block, you know, seeing things, you get it flat. If I just, you know, here's the way I always just fold them when I do things by hand. 1/4 sheet again, fold it 3 times. All right, sand it like this, but you know, it's not going to be flat, okay? So what you can do with your radius, same thing. You can just go at a 45-degree angle all the way around, and then you take your folded sheet. Okay, you can fold it over a little bit, and you just boop, 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 and that's how we do it. Okay, here I made a little eighth of a sheet. All right, that always comes in handy. Okay, so there's different ways you can do it. You can, you know, sand it, like I said. Use a chisel. Use a chisel, knife. Get a carving knife, carve them in that, and then just, you know, finish over with your sandpaper. Like I said, a lot of, like if I was doing this, if this was a, you know, customer's pattern, yeah, I'd be there with the radius gauges, you know, making sure as I'm going step by step by step by step. But hey, I said this is for a buddy of mine. I'm just gonna round these corners over. We're gonna go cast this. Let me round the corners over this, and then I'll show you what paint we're gonna use. And oh, one other thing I forgot to show you too. This was the big thing. Okay, this, okay, it's called a split pattern. Okay, there's two halves. This is one of the biggest things I forgot to explain to you. Okay, so a split pattern. Okay, so here's our parting. Okay, that's what that's gonna look like. All right, so when we're molding this, okay, so you got pins in one side and you got holes in the other side. You can use, these are just 1/2-inch wood dowels. We're gonna make 2 of them. You can get hardened pins, different sizes. You can use brass pins, all that. But like I said, we're making 2 of these, maybe 4 of them, you know, whatever. Wood's good enough, okay? So what we'll do is we'll set that down on a molding bench, put the flask around it, ram it up. When we flip it over, the parting is going to be exposed. Then you pin that on there, okay? So if you didn't have the pins on there, I mean, you could do it, but when you're ramming that other side up, you know, you don't want this moving, okay? We want this, you know, parting to be perfectly straight, okay? So that's why we pin them. I'll show you how to pin them down the road too. Like I said, we're just going to go over this, but you know, traditionally you want them as far away from each other as you can, okay? And then you never, like, if you're doing something round, you want to put them off center. You don't want to put them perfectly on center, because that way you can, you know, you don't know which way you're going to do it. You know, this way, you know, like this, it's so obvious, you know, I'm not going to be doing that, you know. So you got to make sure when you pin these things too, that, you know, you're going to get them to where they got to be, all right? So I'm going to sand the radiuses on here. You don't need to see it. It's not a big deal. Like I said, I showed you how to do them. And then what I'll sand these up, and then we'll turn the camera back on. I'll get the paint out, show you what paint I use. And like I say, I use a specific paint. You know, if you're doing this for your buddy or for yourself or whatever, you know, you go get a thing of Krylon spray paint or whatever. I'm sure that's going to be good enough. But over, you know, when I'm making patterns for customers, you know, they're going to be using these things over and over and over and over again. Okay, there's chemicals in the sand that Krylon and, you know, regular house paints, you know, whatever other, you know, paints there are, it's not going to hold up, okay? And then it's a special formula. Plus, it's a real nice, easy paint. It's called self-leveling. I mean, you just slop it on and it comes out. And it's kind of got like a plastic sheen to it. It's real nice, slick paint, you know. So I'll show it to you. Give me a couple of minutes around these corners over, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys? Okay, guys, I got all the rounds done, everything sanded up. I didn't think you wanted to be bored watching it. Okay, so here's your 2 pattern hands right here. Okay, now you can see I got plenty of draft. You know, like I said, this radius was draft here. I put the oodles of draft up on this decorative part. I thought it just looked a little bit better. But, you know, I'm going to be able to put a flask around this, make a mold off. This is going to pop right out, okay? So, getting ready to paint this, okay? So what I do is, this side's the parting, okay, the inside. I use, maybe we'll do this as a chalk talk, the sandpapers I use and the different sandpapers, okay. I use, like, mostly, believe it or not, 50 and 60 grit sandpaper. This is the other place where we look out, pattern makers look out versus furniture makers. Everybody hates sanding. All right, so what I do, we didn't do it in any other shops that I worked at, but what I kind of figured out is, you know, my buddy owns a body shop, so he'd get this primer that was unbelievably thick, you know, it would go on real thick, then there'd be a lot of scratches in the job, so, you know, he'd sand it with some smoother sandpaper and it would come out real nice. So I use this. I get it at this one. I get at one of the auto part stores. They used to have. It's called Dura Coat. If you can find Dura Coat, use that. It's so much better. This one, the place I got it, they stopped selling the Dura Coat, and they're using this now. I don't care for this as much, but again, it's a sandable primer. So what I can do with this stuff, I went over this with 60 grit sandpaper, and you can actually see some of the sander marks in here, okay? But once I paint with this primer, I'll put 2 coats of that on, and then I'll take like 120 grit sandpaper, polish it up. It's way easier to sand this than it is the woods in my book, you know. And then this Kent Coat from Kent Collins, like I said, they're out of business, but Freeman bought them out, and they're keeping Kent Coat. Okay, Kent Coat's to the best paint, to be honest with you, I think, for pattern making. This stuff, same thing. You can just kind of like slop it on. I don't know if anybody knows much about painting, but there's what's called edge time. You paint it on, and edge time is where you can overlap the paint that you just painted. This doesn't have much edge time to it. This stuff dries so quick. You can literally, I'll paint this job, both of these products. I'll paint this with this primer, and it's going to be ready for me to sand in like a half an hour, not even, like 15 minutes, half hour tops. I can start sanding it, and then I can put this red Kent Coat on there, and same thing, 15 minutes later, I can touch it, move it around. I let it sit longer, but you know, you can, it dries to the touch, okay? So they're really good paints. Like I said, neither of these companies pay me or anything. It's just what I've been using the whole time. And like I said, a lot of the 3 main pattern shops where we did a lot of wood patterns, and we would just paint it with, you know, the Kent Coat. We wouldn't prime, but you know, you had to sand your pattern a little bit more in that. And those 2, we were doing, you know, they were bigger jobs, so those things come out of the molds easier. If the pattern doesn't have to be as it doesn't have to be as smooth in that. Actually, the second place I worked at, they literally used like a 4-inch house brush to paint patterns. I mean, the patterns were that big, and I mean, the way they painted stuff there was just unbelievable. So I think a third place we spray painted. So it's this really good paint. I'm not sure, you know, for smaller guys, it's expensive. It's like $100 now for this. But it lasts. I've been in business for myself for 14 years. I think this is maybe my 3rd gallon of this, and I had acquired like a half of a gallon can of black. So I do my patterns red, and then the core prints black. I just started my 2nd can of black. So this stuff, if you're just doing backyard stuff, this thing will probably last you 20, 25 years. I kid you not. It's lacquer based too, okay? So if it thickens up, get some lacquer thinner, thin it out a little bit, okay? But what you do with this stuff is, like I said, I paint my patterns red, my core prints black, parting, I just leave it the primer color gray, okay? They sell silver, what's the other color? I think yellow. I forget all the colors. I believe they do quartz too. So, you know, if you're a small guy just doing backyard stuff, buy a quart of this stuff. It'll last you forever. It's really good paint. It really is. I mean, you're going to pay a couple dollars more than if you get a can of Rust-Oleum at the depot or something. But this stuff is, like I said, it's got like a, kind of turns into plastic almost. It's really nice and smooth. It's going to be hard to see on camera, but, you know, you get the gist of it, you know. And, like, you don't have to buff this out later, and I'll just put this on there and we're done. You know, you don't have to do anything else to it. So, I'm going to get going on this stuff. Like I said, there's no rhyme or reason how to paint this stuff. I personally always do the parting a little bit anyhow. it's I want every surface, getting back to the woodworking last week, okay, moisture kills wood here, so it'll make it, one of the biggest things I didn't do, I think we're going to do another little wood thing, teach you a little bit more about wood. Moisture makes the wood move, okay, so you want to make sure you get a coat of paint on all the surfaces. That will help. Like I said, if you Dean's, obviously we're not going to be putting this in a pattern storage someplace at a foundry. Dean will probably keep this. He likes, probably hanging on his wall in his office or something. Let me finish this thing up and we'll get back with you. We'll show you. It'll be all done, next time I turn the camera on. And then, like I said, next step will be heading down to the foundry. All right? All right, see you guys in a minute. Okay, guys, got her all painted up. That's what she looks like finished. A little dusty there. All right, that's the pattern. Okay, now what we'll do with this, I'm going to try to cast this down in my foundry next Sunday. We'll do that. It's going down to the foundry, try to cast this thing. I really don't think we're going to, be able to melt enough metal for this, but we'll give it a try anyhow. And I want to try to save him some money because, he helps me out with the foundry there, so lets me put my stuff there. So we'll try to cast it for him. If not, we'll have to take it to one of my customers. I'm not 100% sure he's going to let me film there. He's a real nice guy. He's just a little different, so I think he might be a little camera shy in that. But yeah, there's a pattern. Hopefully, we're going to be doing a lot more of these, okay? What we'll do, like I said, next Sunday, this Wednesday for Chalk Talk, I'm going to do reboot working with woodworking. A couple things going over the last one I probably should have mentioned before I mentioned some of the stuff we did, but there's a lot of stuff I'm missing. Like I said, with the Chalk Talks, they're just overviews. I mean, we could go through that stuff, time after. I could spend 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week for weeks just going over this stuff. But a couple of real important things I forgot to mention. So we'll do a little bit of woodworking. And what I'll try to do, I don't have any patterns where I'm going to glue up segments, but I don't want to waste wood either. But what we'll do is we'll probably just glue up some segments. I'll show you how to do that. All right, and then from there, like I said, we'll do this next Sunday. Take this down to foundry. If we're not able to cast this, I got a bunch of other stuff too that we got to do. I got a couple little prototype type jobs I'm working on. Maybe we'll cast those. I got to get going on those train signal lights. Probably do some of those or something. But we'll get something cast next week, okay? If this doesn't come out. But like I said, there's your pattern. Real easy. I'm not sure what we got coming up next. I do have a real big project, rideable steam train, a big cylinder. That would be a really long project. I'm debating, whether I should put that out or not. I do have a smokestack I gotta do. We'll definitely do that project because that's some lathe work, so we'll get on the lathe. But anyhow, here it is, guys. Like I said, we'll do a whole bunch more, I hope. So in the meantime, everybody have a good one out there. Okay, talk to you.